I'm sure you all have heard people in the Pokemon fandom talk about how the friendly rivals don't work and they need to bring back the jerk rivals and all that stuff. But have you ever wondered why people keep saying that? Or better yet, have you ever thought about how they could be improved? Well, today I'm going to be talking about the problems with the friendly rivals and how I think they should be improved. But before we do, I'd like to introduce you to some friends of mine. The like and subscribe button. Say hello to them down below by clicking on them and giving a super effective boost to this video and my channel. Thank you all for your support. Now, to understand why the friendly rivals don't work as intended, we have to look at the jerk rivals and why people like them. Let's start with the original jerk rival, Blue. You know what's the biggest problem with Blue? He's too good. Like, jerk rivals peaked right here at the beginning and there was nowhere to go but down. Maybe that's why Pokemon decided to do more friendly rivals. They knew they couldn't beat Blue. But why was Blue super effective when it comes to being a good rival? Well, first off, he was a smug jerk who was always belittling you and acting superior, and your mute character couldn't say anything back to him. I mean, look at his design. That just screams jerkbag. On top of that, he was always one step ahead of you and bragging about it. His Pokemon team would also steadily grow more powerful and diverse, and were always pretty high level for the area. But all these things put together made it so much more satisfying when you grinded him into the dirt. You see, one of the biggest factors in making a good rival is, how badly do I want to beat them? The biggest problem with friendly rivals is, well, they're my friends. I don't want to beat them so much, I feel bad. But the bigger the jerk, the bigger the satisfaction is when you shut them up and beat them down. Let's move on to Silver, the second and last jerk rival for a long time. So it was clear Pokemon was trying to do something different with this rival, and while it didn't 100% work for reasons I'll get into, I do like the idea they were going for. Silver was supposed to be a jerk kid who eventually sees the error of his ways and has a bit of a redemption arc, learning to treat his Pokemon well and becoming stronger because of it. Sounds great, right? Well, it wasn't quite handled as well as it could have. First off, unlike Blue, Silver is usually behind you, usually ambushing you from behind and always coming up with excuses when he loses, making him look really weak, and that's because, well, he is weak. Unlike Blue, who was always ahead of you and whose team kept growing in strength and diversity, Silver's team always felt weak to me. Granted, that could be because the Gen 2 games were really easy and unbalanced, but it just makes me feel like Silver isn't a rival to be tested against, and more of an annoying fly that I just swat away effortlessly. He just isn't satisfying to beat. He just seems pathetic, like a young try-hard edgelord or something. But the biggest problem is how his arc is handled. Silver begins to question his methods after losing hard to Lance. Not you, Lance. In a battle we don't even get to see. This is the turning point in his character, we aren't even a part of it. It just makes me feel detached from his story despite how he's my rival. And since we don't see Silver that much after that, it kind of feels like his redemption arc was rushed a bit. Like he did some soul-searching off-screen before challenging you for the final time before the Elite Four. He had so much potential, but Pokemon kind of dropped the ball a bit. Again, I like the idea, but the execution was a bit weak. Now we move on to Gen 3, the first generation to have friendly rivals and the subject of today's video. I have to admit, I like the idea of the character you didn't pick at the beginning becoming your friend. That's a good way to get both characters into the game. However, Mae or Brendan isn't your only friendly rival. There's also Wally, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Here's why Mae and Brendan don't work as friendly rivals to me. They aren't in the game enough. They show up randomly and infrequently, and they don't really have a reason to be your rival. They're just kind of there sometimes. This lack of connection with your character and your journey makes them come off less of a rival or friend, and kind of turns them into an acquaintance. Now let's move on to Wally, the second friendly rival in this game. He suffers from the same problem, except even more so. You only see him 3 times. Once when you show him how to catch a Pokemon, again before the 3rd gym, and finally right before the Elite Four. Again, this isn't a rival or a friend, this is an acquaintance. You only battle him twice, and the first time he's insanely weak with just 1 Ralts, and the second time he is way stronger supporting a diverse team and his fully evolved Gardevoir. The problem is, unlike Blue, for example, we never saw his team gradually grow and get stronger, and therefore we don't get to see Wally grow. They could have done so much more with him, and in the remakes they kinda do, but by having 2 friendly rivals, neither of them got proper screen time, a problem that, spoiler alert, continues in later games. Let's move on to Gen 4 and your friendly rival, Barry. The upside to Barry is he's given a lot more screen time and even battles alongside you a few times. He is way more involved in the story and makes me feel like he is more relevant than the previous friendly rivals. He can be a tad annoying, but overall I think they did a decent job with him. However, there is one huge problem. It's not with Barry specifically, and more of a problem with Pokemon's storytelling and design in general, but we need to go a bit farther for me to properly explain it, so put a pin in that for later. Gen 5. Okay, like I said in a previous video, I haven't played the Black and White games, so I don't have much to say. The only thing of note is the game tried to have 2 friendly rivals again with Bianca and Sharon, and they really must have been trying to make up for Gen 3 because unlike those rivals that barely showed up, these 2 show up constantly, to a point where some people got really annoyed. I honestly don't think it would be a big deal if it was just 1 rival, but with 2 you get interrupted twice as much. Again, I can't comment on this myself because I haven't experienced them myself, but I do think it's worth bringing up. What's also worth bringing up is Black 2 and White 2 were back to one rival, Hue. I honestly never hear people talk about this guy, and without playing the games for myself, I can't really comment on him, so let's move on. Oh, and in case somebody is wondering why I'm not including N as the Gen 5 rival, he's not a rival, he is a reoccurring antagonist, kind of like Giovanni in Gen 1. In Gen 6, we have a group of friends, Serena or Callum, Shauna, Trevor, and Tiamo. You think that's enough? Yeah, I think you can see the problem with this one. If 2 friendly rivals were a bit much, then 4 is just overkill. Though I actually don't remember all these guys showing up much, though that may be because I think X and Y are the most forgettable games. But I think that does prove how forgettable these friendly rivals are. I think their designs are good, but Pokemon has always had good character designs, so it's not that praiseworthy. It's just the Gen 3 problem again for me. They don't leave much of an impact on me, that's all. Moving on. Now on to Sun and Moon. Wait, do these games even have rivals? How? You mean the guy who was barely in the game and didn't have much effect on the story at all? Gladion? You mean the guy who was more preoccupied with his mommy issues? Yeah, I don't have time to go into it right now, but Sun and Moon's story just completely ruins so many aspects of the game, including the characters, so maybe another time. Let's just move on to Sword and Shield. Let's talk about Hop from Sword and Shield. This, to me, was a huge missed opportunity. They were so close with this guy. He had an interesting story going on, being the little brother of the champion. He had a potentially interesting story arc, and he's important to the story, and his team changes up a lot, so not every battle with him feels the same. However, they messed up in a few key places. So they give Hop a lot of screen time and motivation for his journey, and that's great. That's more attention they've given to any rival before. They actually build him up as if he's the main character in all this. Problem is, he's not. Okay, so remember what I said back in the Gen 4 part that there was a huge problem with Barry, not Barry himself, but Pokemon storytelling and design? Well, now it's finally time to talk about it. I really didn't realize this until Hop, but are we really friends with any of these friendly rivals? No, seriously, think about it. Because the character we play as is mute, we never respond or react to our so-called friends. And that really hurts the idea of a friendly rival, or friends in general. I don't feel like I'm friends with these people. It feels more like I'm just tolerating them until they go away. You can't build a friendship in such a one-sided way like saying, oh, we have been friends for years, or, oh, I just met you, let's be friends. Storytelling doesn't work that way. Character dynamics don't work that way. Show me why we are friends, and make me believe we are friends. Show, don't tell. I never felt like these characters were my friends in all this because I just beat them all the time and crushed their dreams. I feel so bad beating Hop all the time and knowing he will never achieve his dream thanks to me. It's like I'm the jerk rival now. Can you please tell me why I should care about this Hop character and any of my friendly rivals when I know, before anything even happens, that I'm the one who's going to be the hero, not them? That they will never achieve their dreams if I'm in their way. And in Sun and Moon's case, the story isn't even about me. It's about Lily and her family problems. Why am I even here? Oh, also, Marnie and Bede were supposed to be rivals in this, but they aren't in the game enough for me to consider them rivals at all. The point is, Hop had a lot of potential as a character, but the friendly rivals can never be more important than you. And unfortunately, your character is about as interesting as a 3-bean salad. If you want this whole friendly rivalry thing to work, we actually have to feel like we are friends with these people and not obstacles in their way. If you can give so much attention to Hop's character, why can't you do the same for the player character? Give them a personality. I know what people are saying. Ooh, it's meant to be a self-insert for the player. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't identify with a plank of wood. I prefer my characters to have more, well, character. If games like Mass Effect and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic can allow you to make a character and influence their personality, then why can't Pokemon? Scarlet and Violet. Okay, let's talk about Nimona. Hands down one of the best designed rivals ever. I love her design and spunky personality, but unfortunately that's all she has going for her. Nimona's problem is that she's kind of a one-trick ponyta. She just loves battling and that's it. When you meet her, she's already champion rank, so how the heck do we keep steamrolling her? And what is her arc? If she's already the best, then what does she hope to achieve anymore? Become the world champion? Well, we know that's not going to happen because the player exists. You see the continuing problem here? So by now it should be obvious why friendly rivals don't work. They either don't show up enough, aren't interesting enough, don't even feel like you're friends most of the time, and can't do more or impact the story more than your uncharismatic mute avatar. And sometimes they just aren't written well, regardless of their amazing design. The jerk rivals worked way more because they were obstacles that you wanted to conquer, nothing more. And that's what a rival should be, considering the way Pokemon does its storytelling. I'd say Hop was the closest they got to doing it right, but they failed to realize he wasn't the main character. We are. And we should get that kind of characterization too. Make us part of the story, and not a bystander that just witnesses everything, and only steps in when the game says we can. Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon really have this problem in spades. Lily, Gladion, Hop, these were the real protagonists of the story, until they weren't, and suddenly this mute child comes in and does everything. At least Hop fights alongside you against Eternatus. But when you get Sun and Moon, where even though Lily is the one who's taking care of Nebby and being focused on more than your character, you're the one who fights her mom and gets to keep Nebby once it evolves. How does that make sense from a storytelling perspective? Even in Scarlet and Violet, characters like Penny and Arven are way more interesting than my character or Nimona because they actually have good character arcs. Why aren't we the one with family issues? Why aren't we the younger siblings of the champion? Really, we are nothing in these stories and yet the most important person at the same time. The friendly rivals have inadvertently destroyed storytelling in these games, and that needs to change. So, that's my thought on this whole thing. But what do you think? How would you fix the friendly rival problem? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.